Hi, Teri here from Stamping Magic. Welcome back to my channel. Today's project is this mini tote bag that contains cards and envelopes. I've used the Zany Zebras stamp set together with some of our bright 6-inch designer series paper. Inside I've got 6 envelopes and 6 3-inch square cards. All the cards are different, but each pair uses the same colours, but I've just reversed them. So let's get started. These are all the measurements you need for all the elements required to create this project. So if you're interested in reproducing it, take a screenshot so you can refer to it later. This is the Zany Zebras stamp set. It contains 3 different zebra images, but I'm just using this top one today. I'll be stamping on some normal weight Whisper White card. So first of all, I'm going to position my stamp and pick it up with the plate. I'll be using Melon Mambo ink for my zebra this time, and I'm going to stamp it twice so I get a nice dark impression. I've cut out my zebra using one of the stitched shapes dies, and this is one size down from the largest square. Then I've also created a scallop square mat to go underneath it in Daffodil Delight, and I've used one of the layering square dies for this, and this is the 4th size down from the largest scalloped square. I'm now going to layer these together and add dimensionals onto the reverse. This is the paper I'm using to create my bag, and it's from the Brights collection in Melon Mambo. Now it measures 6 inches square, and when you choose your paper you must ensure that it hasn't got any directional pattern on it. Now if you don't want to use 6-inch paper, you can cut a piece from 12-inch paper, and it needs to measure 8.5 inches by 3.25 inches. Okay, but as I said, I'm using 6-inch paper, so the first thing I'm going to do is cut one piece that measures 3.25 inches. Now the waist piece I'm going to turn and cut that at 3.25 inches. This piece we don't need. Now my paper doesn't have a directional design on it at all, so it's perfect to use, and this is how the pieces will join together. Okay, now if you have a directional pattern, I'll show you on the reverse of these how it will look. So you can see it's going to look very strange. It may work, it just depends on the design that you're using, but with this particular one it wouldn't at all. So I'm going to use this side to build my bag. I need to create a little tray for the base of my box, and I'm using Melon Mambo cardstock for this. Now you need to score it at 1/4 inch on all sides. I find it easier to score on the right hand side each time, so you're away from that raised edge on the left hand side. I need to create tabs on each of the corners, so holding the long side towards me, I'm going to cut straight up that score line, and then I'm going to notch either side of that tiny little tab, and then I'm going to repeat that for each of the corners. I can then fold on all the score lines and burnish them with my bone folder. To put this little tray together, all you have to do is add glue to each of these tiny tabs in turn and then position it onto the adjacent side section. And you want to try and keep these corners as square as you possibly can. It's very fiddly because they're so tiny. I'll be using tear and tape adhesive to put the rest of the bag together. First of all, I'm going to run a strip of it along the base, and this is on the wrong side of the bag, or the inside. And then on the right side of the bag, or the outside, I'm going to run a strip of tape on each of the sides. Now for the smaller piece, I'm going to run a piece along the base, this is on the wrong side, and then also down the two sides as well, on the wrong side. Now going back to the largest piece of Designer Series paper, I'm removing the backing from the bottom, and I'm now going to attach this to my little tray. Now I've got the tray upside down, and I'm going to start ½ inch from one of the corners, and I'm aligning the bottom edge of that Designer Series paper right to the bottom edge of my tray, and then I'm just going to carefully wrap it around as far as I can go. And it should go round about ½ inch on the opposite side, like so. Now I'm going to give that a good pressing from the inside to make sure it's firmly stuck. I now want to attach the smaller piece of Designer Series paper to the back. Now first of all, I'm just going to lift the edges of this tear and tape just to expose the baseline. I want to position the base of that smaller piece first before I expose and position the sides. There we go. So I'm just bending those edges out of the way, and then I can remove the backing to that bottom strip. Again, just lift the edges from the bottom of the sides so they're out the way. Now when I position this, I'm going to try and position it so I've got an even overhang on both sides. Then once I'm happy, I can press it into position and give it a press with my bone folder from the inside. I'm then going to remove the backing from the other pieces of adhesive on both sides. Now once it's finished, as long as you've chosen your paper design wisely, that back panel will hardly show. And even if it does, if you've taken the time to space it evenly against each side, then again that will help it be more invisible. If you have any little uneven bits on that top edge, just trim them off with scissors. For the handles, I'm using 2 1/4-inch strips of Melon Mambo card, and I'm going to attach them using glue dots. I'm going to do the back handle first of all, and I'm lining up the handle with the side edge of that back panel. Then I'll bend the handle forward and bring the opposite end around to attach on the other side of that back panel. Then I can repeat for the front of the bag, and this time I'm going to line it up with the handle on the back, just so I can get more or less the same position. I'm going to add some trim pieces to the top of the bag to cover the joins on the handles and keep it nice and neat. And I've got some of the Daffodil Delight 6-inch designer series paper here. I've cut 2 half-inch strips. Now again, if you're using 12-inch paper, all you need is a strip that's 8.5 inches long. I'm going to add my first strip fully around the front of the bag and towards the back, so it will overlap the back by about 1/2 inch on either side. Once it's fully attached, give it a good press down from the inside to make sure it bonds fully. Now the second strip I'm going to cut roughly to size. I'm going to try and match the pattern, the polka dots, as much as I can. I'm cutting it to approximately the size of that back panel, but I will trim it down a little more in a minute. So I can now add my glue and then put it into position and finally trim off the other side. And then I can add my little zebra panel to the front of the bag. To finish off my little bag, I'm going to add a few of our in colour enamel dots to the zebra panel. Now these are actually in Bumblebee, but they're a close enough match to the Daffodil Delight, so it doesn't really matter. I'm just going to put together one of the cards so you can see how I did it, but they are super simple to create. Now my card base, this one is in Gorgeous Grape and it's 6 inches by 3 inches and scored at 3 inches to create a top folding card. You could have it side folding if you want to. Then I've got some more of the Brights designer series paper. This is in Granny Apple Green. I've got Whisper White Matte for inside the card, and then I've got my stamped zebra in Granny Apple Green and a Gorgeous Grape matte to go underneath it. And I use the same dies for these that I used on the front of the bag. And that's all there is to it. It's super simple. I kept them quite flat so I could fit 6 in the little bag. Now I created them in pairs and I reversed the colours for each pair, just so that all of them were actually different. Now the first two are Granny Apple Green and Gorgeous Grape. The middle row is Pacific Point and Mango Melody, and the bottom row Poppy Parade and Coastal Cabana. These are my 6 envelopes, and these are the specific ones that Stampin' Up sell for 3-inch cards. So they can go into my little bag, and then I can add my cards. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed this project. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe and hit that notifications bell so you don't miss out on any future videos. Bye for now.